It is so good to have you join us on Nigeria Now, showing on your digital first Pan-African news network, 2S Television, a show where we'll bring you the front pages of the newspaper and talk about them. Joining me in the studio this morning is Adebayo Fajimi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
Good, good. We have a couple of newspapers this morning, national dailies, and we'll just be talking about the headlines very briefly. Let's start from the Punch newspaper. We have our headline right there. Nigeria grants 992.9 billion naira import waivers in 2 years, and that's a report that can be found on page 19. Then fully vaccinated Nigerians need no pre-departure test quarantine, coming from UK, can be found on page 7. Experts celebrate malaria vaccine breakthrough. FG plans procurement, that can be found on page 2. And chairmanship PDP governors insist on North NEC adopt zoning report, can be found on page 2 as well. The banner headline right there is 16.39 trillion naira budget funding. Sell refineries moribund asset, reduce deficit. Economist National Assembly tell Buhari. Two riders address insecurity. Don't impose multiple taxes on manufacturers. That's the ex-LCCI DG. Block tax loopholes, impose levies on luxury goods. Economist counsels federal government. And just beside the picture of the day there, flooding will compound cholera crisis, lead to more deaths. That's from WaterAid, can be found on page 9. Oshun couple found dead at home, buried without autopsy, house help held. And that's coming on page 4 of the Punch. Uniben suspend lecturer, orders police probe of alleged student rape, can be found on page 8. Abductor shoots colleague dead as Ondo Amotekun closes in, can be found on page 7. And then ex-SGF law Lawal knew nothing about 544 million naira contract fraud. That's coming from an EFCC witness. We will come back to the Punch newspaper about the story on abductor shooting colleague dead as Ondo Amotekun closes in. That can be found on page 7. Let's quickly talk about the Nigerian News Direct first. The banner headline right there is 2023 power rotation. PDP insists zoning will not affect executive legislative seat. We're seeing articles saying zoning not solution to Nigeria's problem as Sanwo-Olu flags off Tinubu's support movement for 2023. This has, this we've been talking about zoning, the Southern Governors Forum, the Northern Governors Forum, and everything. Now we're seeing PDP coming out to say zoning will not affect executive legislative seat. Now Atiku is saying zoning is not solution to Nigeria's problem. Do you think it's correct?
Of course, former Vice President Atiku is very correct, but in Nigerian polity, you cannot do, away with zoning, considering the heterogeneous nature of our nation. The fact that you are zoning presidency, you are zoning power to one region or the other does not and has never, put an end to the problem Nigeria have been facing, right, from the beginning. So, but it's not something we can do away with. So, because it is very essential because of the nature and the way everybody, lives together, our diversity. So, it is very, very necessary so that, this sense of marginalization will not just, keep on coming up and all of that. So zoning is what makes each region, when they are truly and well represented in decision-making processes, with that they will know that, okay, we are still among them, we are part of the process.
I've not heard your take on this Sanwo-Olu's flagging off of Tinubu support movement. We've been seeing, support from different corners of the country saying they need Tinubu. Though I have not personally seen, or heard Tinubu talk about his running and everything. And we're seeing so many calls for it. What do you think of all of this movement and this push for Tinubu to come 2023 as president?
Well, we have not heard, and the national leader of the party, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, has not officially declared his intention to run come 2023. But people have been, canvassing for him, that he is competent to do it and all of that. So, well, of course, he has a right to do it, and he's competent, looking at his pedigree, and so he has the right, as a citizen of Nigeria, to vote and to be voted for. So, for Governor Sanwo-Olu to be kickstarting, a campaign or a movement for him, for reason best known to him, well, of course, but that's not the issue that's at stake now. What I think they should all focus on now is, governance and how governance is going to affect the life of citizens positively. So what everything is all about 2023, and let's just wait and see, how events, is going to unfold.
All right, still on the Nigerian News Direct, we see Oshun Sports Festival. We're employing sports to spread message of love, unity, development. That's coming from Oyetola, can be found on page 23 of Nigerian News Direct. And the story on the Punch that I said we're coming back to was the one on insecurity. Abductor shoots colleague dead as Ondo and Motokin closes in. Before now, we've been talking about, state policing and, just personnel that can, step in to curb the insecurity situation that Nigeria is facing. And now we've seen stories of how the Amotekun group, were able to catch some culprits, some criminals and everything. Do you think other parts of Nigeria should do same? Like the northern part of Nigeria and the eastern part of Nigeria as well?
Yes, of course, because it's going to help us. State police will help us. The Nigeria, the current security architecture that we have is not strong enough to curtail the security challenges that we are facing. So having state police is a way to go, and it's going to help us in a grade to ensure that all these criminals, bandits, kidnapping people, killing people and raping people, to ensure that we curb them totally. We need state police. Like we have Amatekun, in the southwest. Even though there are still a lot, there's still a lot of work for them to
be done.
With proper training, with proper equipment and remuneration, I think it's going to go along with state police is the way to go. All
right. Now this is Daily Trust. The banner headline is UK medication budget, Biamila, governors, others spend millions to visit Tinubu. We have a couple of others on in that story. You can grab the Daily Trust newspaper and get the story from pages 5 and 47. We see Nigeria's proposed 16.39 trillion naira budget raises more questions, less help. On the blueprint, the banner headline there is talking about article on zoning. PDP has its rules, Nigerians their choice. That can be found on page 6 as well. And then under the picture of the day there on the blueprint newspaper, don't panic over borrowings, Buhari tells Nigerians. All of that story can be found on the blueprint newspaper. Talking about the deficit in 2022 on the budget, Nigeria's budget, we can see that story on Business Day. The banner headline there says Nigeria risks 10.82 trillion naira deficit in 2022 on unrealistic revenue target. We can get this big story on page 30 of the Business Day. Before I just read on the rest headlines on each of the newspapers, can we talk about this particular story? Nigeria risking 10.82 trillion naira deficit in 2022 on unrealistic revenue target. When we say unrealistic revenue target, it means something that cannot be achieved.
Yes, it is quite pathetic, because we have a leadership system that we do not trust. So in the budget, the government, is targeting over 10 trillion naira revenue, while you have over 6 trillion deficit. And the deficit, according to Mr. President, will be financed by I think 5 trillion naira. That's huge. That's huge. If you are spending a bulk of budget on salaries and overhead, which is over 6 trillion naira. That's huge. And the issue is, are we going to, when we see have a lot of gaps in area of infrastructure, why are we spending so much more, on salaries and overhead when we have a lot of development issues that we need to focus on? So this, no doubt, has raised question, and there is no way Nigerian or discerning Nigerians will not keep on asking questions that why is it that we are still doing this time again? The ones we have done in the past, where are the results? But Mr. President say, well, they are going to use the money judiciously and all of that. But how true are they that truly they are going to use this money judiciously in such a way that there's going to be a very good turnover or return after everything? So the issue is just about trust, corruption, and all other enemies or other process. Let me just put it that way. That is affecting the leadership structure and the polity, especially in the area of governance in Nigeria. All
right. On the Nation newspaper, the banner headline there is why we halted planned petrol price hike by Buhari. You can just grab yourself a copy of the Nation newspaper there and read about all the stories and others on it. Don't forget you can be a part of our social media community. Stay updated on happenings around Nigeria and of course across Africa. Follow us on our social media platforms at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. And of course our website is right there on the screen and also our YouTube page. Thank you again for joining us on Nigeria Now this time. I am Merciful Ejinimo. See you next week Monday.